towards promoting design thinking research and practice in architecture. By Associate Professor Mohammed Ghonaim, Cairo University, Egypt, and King Saud University, Saudi Arabia. The importance of design thinking research could be perceived through its impact on architectural practice and education. Design thinking as a field of inquiry provides an understanding of the designer's ways of thinking, it supports the capabilities that lead to creativity and design, and it helps in relying upon the process rather than the product, when evaluating design performances. Although more than 50 years have passed since the emergence of the research about design thinking methods, yet design thinking research does not get enough interest among architectural scholars. Also, its outcomes are not adopted sufficiently in architectural practice. This situation may cause a gap between the theory and the practice of architectural design. Therefore, further situational research to investigate some issues relevant to design thinking research and practice is needed. The purpose of this study is to promote design thinking research and practice in architecture. It aims at addressing a number of related issues, investigating their limitations, and providing suggestions to overcome these limitations, with special reference to Egypt. In order to fulfill this aim, the study applied analytical and deductive methodologies. It adopted a qualitative research approach, supported by a number of semi-structured interviews, with a sample of expert academic Egyptian architects. The first part investigated the interest in design thinking research. It showed the scope of architectural research according to the Royal Institute of British Architects, and discussed the results of a previous study, which reported that the majority of the research interests in architecture focused on technical and functional issues, while some fewer examples focused on design theories, sociological and policy issues. The interest in design thinking research was investigated through the interviews, in addition to the concern of the Egyptian academic and professional architects, in following up with research about design thinking, and adopting its outcomes. Some reasons causing the lack of interest in design thinking research were revealed. These reasons could be classified into two major categories: first, the lack of motivation for the research, and second, the difficulties in such area of research. Moreover, this study involved some suggestions to increase the interest in design thinking research. A number of methodologies were introduced to research design thinking, in order to specify how designers understand design problems, generate ideas, and make decisions. A previous study has reported 6 methods to research design thinking, as shown in this figure. However, these methods have some limitations, therefore, seeking new research methods is still needed. This study demonstrated the author's experiment of adopting diary reporting as a tool for exploring and examining the students' thinking styles through the teaching of an elective course titled Design Methods and Approaches. The third part discussed the impact of communication and persuasion skills in supporting design thinking skills. It demonstrated the results of a survey done by the National Architectural Accrediting Board, which showed that communication skills occupy the third priority within 14 competencies required for architects. The interviews conducted in this study investigated the level of the communication and persuasion skills of the architecture graduates in Egypt. The results ensured that these skills need more attention through the architectural education, and proposed to adopt methodical training on communication skills. The fourth part reviewed Rhodes's analysis of creativity, and emphasized the importance of the environment on creativity. It also mentioned some of the deficiencies within the contemporary Egyptian architecture, which are the absence of original identity, the lack of creativity, and the multiplicity of the values of creativity. In order to promote design thinking practices, this paper suggested improving the creative environment related to the Egyptian architecture. 2 objectives were proposed as an initiation to achieve this aim. In conclusion, this study aimed at investigating the limitations related to some issues of design thinking research and practice, with special reference to Egypt. Also, it focused on providing some suggestions to overcome these limitations. The investigation of the situation of design thinking research validated the study hypothesis, and showed an apparent lack of interest in such area of research. Moreover, some reasons were revealed. In addition, the study highlighted and evaluated an experiment of using design diaries in design thinking research among junior students, and it recommended applying this method in further studies. The interviews showed that there is an inadequacy of communication skills among graduate architects, calling for methodical training through the architectural education. To improve the creative environment of architectural practice in Egypt, 2 viable objectives were proposed: 1 to determine a clear set of criteria and measures for evaluating creativity, and 2 to establish an organization responsible for motivating, fostering and sponsoring creativity within the forthcoming Egyptian architecture. Finally, it is important to point out that promoting design thinking research and practice is highly dependent on the level of awareness about the qualities of architecture, not only through architects but also through stakeholders and concerned parties. The perception of architecture should always extend to involve its qualitative aspects, so architecture can play its role in building the civilizations. This paper initiated a viewpoint on some issues related to the subject of promoting design thinking research and practice. Meanwhile, future studies on the same subject are invited. Thank you for listening, and your comments are appreciated.